Baofeng UV-9R Pro. This has become my everyday radio. It's versatile and it works for a lot of different situations. This is not the default setup though, it's slightly modified. I'm gonna talk about what I like and what I dislike about this. Overwhelmingly positive, but I wanna talk about some of the drawbacks. The focus of my content is not whether something is perfect or it sucks, but what design features are good, what I like about them, and whether it might work for you. If you want a spec sheet, read the spec sheet. I'm gonna talk about things that I like and things I dislike about it. Or the default antenna that comes with it is very large. I've modified this with the Nuwone's antenna. This is the radio in its most compact version if I'm just carrying it around. This radio works really well because it has a channel mode and a frequency mode. If you put it on channel mode and you don't even know about frequency mode, you just turn it on and off and it'll take you right back to channel mode. Convenient, it just feels like a GMRS or an FRS radio. You up and down channel and you just make sure you're on the same channel as your buddy with the other radio and you can communicate. It also allows for CTCSS and DCS filtering. I use the word filtering, people usually use the word security code. It gives people a false sense of security because it's not actually secure, it's not encrypted communication. Anybody can listen on that channel, it just gives you a filtering ability so that if you're on a GMRS channel, for example, there are only 21 GMRS channels, I think, so other people are likely to be on one of those channels if you're in a populated or dense area like a ski resort. The filtering lowers the possibility dramatically that you'll hear other people on the channels because it's basically all of the GMRS channels multiplied by the DCS security codes, which is a high number, and so you're unlikely to hear other people. Compared to an FRS radio that doesn't have any filtering abilities, you're just gonna hear a lot of traffic if you're in a dense area. Let's talk about the limitations of this radio. First of all, its limitations, which would be similar to other handheld radios, or HTs they call them. They're going to be severely limited in an urban environment. They say line of sight with the whip antenna, you get like 20 miles if you're on a mountain, for example, which on mountains, skiing, hiking, they're amazing, especially if you have the whip antenna. If you're using this type of antenna and you're in a dense urban environment, unless you're using a repeater, you're not gonna get a great signal. In super dense urban environments, when you have a 5-watt radio, even though it doesn't have a true 5-watt output, even with this whip antenna, which they say you get 30% more gain, even at 30% stronger signal, you're not going to get a strong simplex or basically one-to-one direct communication from this to another similar radio. It's just not going to be strong enough when there's all the interference of all the buildings. That's where repeaters come in. Surprisingly, repeaters are super sensitive to even weak signals. So even with an antenna like this in a dense urban environment, you might think that, the repeater's far away and I wouldn't be able to reach from here to where that repeater tower is with a simplex connection or a one-to-one. If somebody had the exact same radio where the repeater is, they wouldn't be able to hear me at that distance. So why does the repeater pick it up? Well, it's a much bigger antenna. It's super sensitive. It might even have vocal filtering applied where it can tell the difference between noise, interference, and a voice. One thing about using repeaters with radios that I didn't know right away is that they're everywhere. You might think backcountry or on a trail for a popular mountain that there wouldn't be a repeater out there. Oh, you're in backcountry, there's no phone signal, but oftentimes there are repeaters. So if you feel like you might not be able to get a connection between your friends via a simplex or one-to-one direct contact connection from radio to radio, you can find the local repeater and go via that repeater and communicate with each other. There are a couple configurations with this radio. You could use a smaller antenna like this that didn't come with it. This is the configuration that I would often use skiing if I didn't have a pack on or I didn't want to have the radio in the pack. This fit in my outer shell in the pocket, and I wired this, depending on your jacket, either through the pocket or out of the pocket and in through the vent onto the collar here. Or you can have it just in a side pocket, coming out of the side pocket and clipped on your jacket or clipped here near the zipper. In this configuration, there's no clip on it. I was just using this in a pocket. The other configuration, and more likely if you're using a pack rather than handheld or a jacket because of the size of the antenna, with the larger width antenna getting about 30% more gain, you could put this deep into a backpack, or if you wanted to add a clip to it and clip it on the side of a backpack, you could have this run up the side of the backpack or even just poke out of the top of a backpack if it's inside. Then you just run this over your shoulder like so and clip it on the shoulder strap of the pack or on your jacket, wherever you want. The speaker is very convenient, especially skiing. This is supposedly waterproof. I was definitely testing that and it's yet to die. It was coated in freezing rain and it still functions. There's this 1/4-inch earpiece connector if you want to use that as well. If it's a really loud environment, you can connect an earpiece. I typically didn't wear that skiing. This was sufficient to hear them. I wouldn't be communicating while I was skiing. In that case, sometimes it'd be hard to hear somebody. Only downside of the shoulder speaker setup and putting a radio in the backpack is that you can't adjust the volume. You also can't change channels if you need to switch over channel, or if you're just not getting a signal and you want to troubleshoot. Sometimes it's a pain to take your pack off, pull the radio out and see what's going on. This, like most radios, has a keypad lock. I find it's very intuitive with this. You hold it down and it shows a lock. I use that all the time because if I'm throwing this in a pocket or inside of a jacket or in a backpack, I want to make sure that I'm not pressing buttons by mistake. And then the last configuration that I started with is this more compact. I want to point something out about this clip. Unfortunately, the clip that comes with this radio is, in my opinion, terrible. So I 3D printed this. I found this, if you just search UV-9R Pro clip on Thingiverse. That's just basically a 3D model repertoire. It's thick enough to put on a belt, but it's also works well for a backpack. This way you can adjust your channel and frequency and adjust your volume as needed, or turn the radio off if you're not using it, more easily than if you were using a shoulder speaker. The downside of this 3D print is that it doesn't offer any rotational security. You can see this screw is starting to loosen. There's no lock on that screw, so it will slowly just loosen like that. That said, I still like it better than the one that comes with it. The one that comes with it is just a bizarre design. It has this, there's a little lip here and then a little slide that will only allow this. So this thing attaches to the back of the radio, it screws on, it stays there. I understand being able to take the clip on and off. That's nice. It protrudes so much that if you wanted to take the clip off, it still takes up all this space. So you pin that down and then you can only put this through at one axis, which makes sense because it locks it in place. So that seems like a good design. So wide, it takes up so much space and it's really just feels cheap. So it attaches to the radio there, and if you want to clip it on something and have it be vertical, the clip is above the radio, which is just bizarre. Like if this was on a belt, it would be below your belt. It wouldn't be up on your belt like that. It's made for a thickness of a belt, so it won't really just like conveniently clip onto something else. Also, this spring is not strong enough. Like, see, I'm applying just a little bit of force. It should be really, like, you should have to apply some force to open it. They have this like inset grip for opening it, which would make sense if you needed a lot of force to open it. If this were purely a belt clip, which I guess it is, or a thick strap clip. One thing I do like about it is that this clip goes down like that, and then it has a lip that comes back out this way, so it really grips the bottom of a belt. Did open a little bit, it's still gonna hold on. You really would have to open it, push it down, pull it up, and the radio would come off the belt.